Hi everyone, Steve the Time and finally delivering on the content that I've promised to everyone. And today we're talking about all-terrain tyres. Specifically, do you need all-terrain tyres? And look, this has been prompted or by the fact that I see a lot of people buy all-terrain tyres when really there's better choices for them in the market. So as I tell my kids, I want people to think about what they're doing. This is a very important purchase because it's going to last you some time. And there's a lot of cost involved, as we'll see, more than you think. So let's get into it. Okay, yeah. Firstly, yeah, do you need all-terrain tires? And you'll see what we want to do is match product with application, okay? And I want you to think about what you need rather than what you want. So a lot of people buy all-terrain tires because they look good, they look better than the standard style highway terrain tires. And look, most people don't understand the fact that because they are more off-road oriented, there are compromises, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay, so look, for people who aren't doing any off-road occasional sand use, let's cut it short. You can go and do something else you want rather than listen to me rave on. Okay, so for users who don't go off-road or use their vehicle on sand occasionally, your passenger construction, original equipment, highway terrain tires are the best option. Okay. Um, I know they don't look as good as an all-terrain, but they have the best on-road performance, wet grip specifically, okay? But there are, handling in general, they're generally superior to an all-terrain tyre. Due to the fact they haven't got as much groove area and less tread depth, also the construction lends itself to better on-road performance. Compared to all-terrain tyres, they're generally lighter, and for that reason, they usually nearly always have better fuel economy. And we're talking in depth about that later on in the cost incurred with heavier tyres. And they work really well on sand. When we air down on sand, the passenger construction tyres have a lot more flex than a lot of the all-terrains and generally perform very well on sand. Okay. Let's move on now. Just to confuse things for everybody, there are quite a lot of different types of all-terrain tyres, and we're going to split them up here. So, yeah, there's again the answer to the question, do you need them? It's going to get more detailed. We're going to try and find out which specific type of all-terrain do you need, if that's in fact what you do need. Okay, so firstly, we're going to split them up by construction type. We have passenger construction, which is most of the original equipment style tyres are passenger construction. Then we have light truck, and then light truck 2 or 3 ply. Now, as the arrow indicates, I want you to think about the fact that when we go heavier in construction or we go from passenger to light truck construction, which is a really common change for a lot of people when they go to an all-terrain, um, we nearly always end up with a heavier tyre, and that means increased ride harshness and fuel consumption. Okay, so straight away think about that. Okay, and think about if you need that, and we'll talk about that as we go. Okay, all-terrain pattern types. There's three, really, Steve? Yeah, there is. Okay, and they are quite different in the way they perform. And I've give them names. Okay, now the mold all-terrain, that's fairly new to the market, becoming more popular, and we'll explain why. The normal all-terrain, and I've picked the name normal because there's not a specific official name, if you like. So I've picked that because that's the all-terrain tyre style that most people know, okay? Aggressive all-terrain, like they have been around for a while now. They are really an alternative to a mud tyre, and they are quite popular. Okay, so let's talk about those as well. And again, the arrow's telling us as we get more aggressive in the pattern type, we do get more off-road traction. That's the point. More aggressive pattern, more off-road traction. That's great if we need it, but we end up with usually heavier tires, nearly always noisier because of the pattern design. Because they're heavier, they're going to use more fuel and the ride isn't as good. Okay. Okay, so let's look at passenger construction versus light truck. So most of the original equipment style tyres are passenger construction. And look, compared to light truck, they're lighter, they ride nicer, better fuel economy. And as already mentioned, when we air down off-road on sand, they have a bigger footprint change and they work really well. Okay, so this style of construction is really aimed at users who do very little off-road, occasional sand use, or a little bit of very mild off-road use, okay, where we don't need high levels of off-road traction to get where we're going. And I think most people would be surprised how capable they are. And with good pressure management, they'll do a lot of things and more things than most people believe. Okay, light truck construction. Now, once we start getting a little more ambitious with our off-road, with our off-roading, light truck construction becomes, yeah, more important. Okay, so what light truck construction gives is a heavier tire, and the real advantage, and we've got it there, is improved puncture resistance. Okay, so once we start getting a bit more serious with off-road, the tires, it's much easier to damage tires because we have more road hazards. Um, and the one thing I don't think a lot of users think about is dirt roads or unsealed roads. Now, this is really important to outback tourists who are doing a lot of dirt road work. It's on these roads that more tyres are killed than anywhere else for the reason that we're adding a fair bit of speed. Okay, so generally off-road stuff is generally quite slow speed. So, usually well under 60 kilometers an hour. Once we're looking at dirt roads, we're looking at, speeds around the 80. If you're going more than that, you're sort of, especially on roads in poor condition, you're inviting tyre damage. So these are conditions where we really need, if we're using that sort of roads a lot, we need a light truck construction tyre to minimise our chances of punctures, okay? The downsides of the light truck is they're heavier, okay? So they're going to use more fuel, they ride harder, um, they're less flexible, so we need to air down a little bit more compared to a passenger tyre to get the same sort of footprint change, which is important when we need flotation on sand. Okay. Now, just to add another element, in light truck construction, in all-terrain tyres, there's, depending on the brand and the type, there's also 2 and 3 ply construction. When they're talking about 2 and 3 ply, they're talking about the carcass construction. And look, it makes sense that 3 ply is heavier, so we're adding a ply. Here we're looking for, the tyre manufacturer is adding more puncture resistance and less sidewall flex. Now, that's really a good thing for people who are getting really serious with their off-road and need that protection from sidewall damage and punctures as well. Okay, so, but for most people doing occasional off-road and outback tours, with decent sort of pressure management, you're going to get away with a 2-ply tyre, which is going to be considerably lighter, better on fuel, and ride better, and is in a general, in most of the time, be a better performer on road as well. So, just to summarise on this one, light truck construction gives us improved puncture resistance for off-roading and dirt road work. Um, and also there's that added variation if we're getting very serious with our off-roading to add that extra carcass ply, which is a 3-ply. But again, it's only really serious off-roading we need that. And we add weight, fuel consumption, ride harshness. Okay, let's look at the 3 all-terrain pattern types. The first one is what we call a mild all-terrain. So as you can see, not a lot of less lateral grooving as we go on, you'll see, compared to the normal all-terrain. Really, most of these tyres are highway tyre with a little bit more lateral grooves or groove area to give us a little bit more off-road traction. But um, these are actually a really good option for people who want a more aggressive look than the original equipment style tyre, but aren't only doing a little bit of off-road work, maybe occasional sand, a bit like your highway tyre. Okay. These are actually, this style of tyre is quite common as original equipment on a lot of Toyotas, as we can see with that Dunlop on the right there. That's a very common fitment for a lot of Toyota four-wheel drive utes and wagons. Yeah, nearly all of these are passenger construction too. So very much on-road oriented. The whole idea really is to have something that little bit more aggressive than the highway tyre. Look, for looks, more than anything, this will give you a very small improvement compared to the OE tyre for traction off-road. Okay, the next one, your normal all-terrain, for want of a better term. Now, um, This is probably the most common style of all-terrain and the one most people know. So we're starting to get into tread patterns now that are more open, more groove area. So they do definitely provide um, increased off-road traction compared to our original equipment tyre. Um, Depending on the brand and the pattern, there will be both light truck and passenger construction available. Most in the normal all-terrain are two-ply construction, some are three. So again, there's quite a lot of choice in this normal all-terrain market. So we'll finish up with a bit of a summary regarding what's best suited to your needs. But yeah, those construction options are available. They're both passenger light truck, two and three ply. Um, Look, these are the biggest seller in the market because they give you that extra off-road traction. They look a lot better than the original equipment tire. And especially once we choose a light truck, there's a big difference in puncture resistance compared to the original equipment style highway tire. Okay, and look, for outback tourers, they are probably the best option because you're going to be doing a lot of on-road work plus a lot of dirt road work, and with good pressure management, this would be probably the best option, most comfortable, and as far as cost, probably the best option as well. Okay, yeah, and look, just to be clear, the products I'm showing here, look, I don't endorse. These are just really examples of products that are in the market that suit, that are in the segment I'm mentioning. Okay, and here, these are all what I call normal all-terrain. Okay. All right, so let's move on. Aggressive all-terrain. So this is, look, relatively new section of the market. It's not, depends what you call new. They've been around for, probably coming on a decade now, so they're not really new. So, and they are quite popular in the market. The whole idea of the aggressive all-terrain was to have a tire that's not aggressive as a full mud tire, but more aggressive and have better off-road traction compared to your normal all-terrain we just looked at. Okay, so most of these tyres are aimed at enthusiast off-roaders who are pretty serious with their off-roading. So nearly all the products I've seen are light truck construction. The best part of them are three ply, some are two. Okay, but yeah, they are designed for serious off-roaders, and they're really only a small step away from a mud tyre. So these products are really aimed at serious off-roaders who want high levels or need, I should say, high levels of puncture resistance and off-road traction for what they're doing. Okay, but look, with anything, there's always downsides. Okay. Let's talk about fuel consumption. Okay, so let's say we're changing from our original equipment style passenger construction OE highway tyres to what we call a normal all-terrain in light truck. And this is a really common change for a lot of users, okay? And I've picked a difference of an increased fuel consumption of 1 litre per 100 Ks. Now, that's pretty conservative, okay? So with that sort of change from a highway passenger to a light truck all-terrain, that would be pretty common. A lot of tyres you're going to get more than that, like 1.5. So I've been quite conservative, okay? Um, let's assume we've got a life of 70,000 Ks out of these tyres, so you're going to run them for that. So that's not, for me, that's not, certainly not a short life. It's not an extremely long life, but that's quite good life and sort of fairly common for this style of tyre. We look at a diesel cost of 189.8. Okay, that was just something, the price of fuel a week or so ago. Okay, to work it out, so in that 70,000 Ks, if we work it out by 100, so we've got an extra 700 Ks 700 litres used in the life of those tyres. 1 litre per 100 K, 700 times 1, multiply that by your litre fuel cost. We have an extra fuel cost of over $1,300, okay, by just doing that change. Wow. That makes an expensive set of tyres. So for yourself, if you need that extra puncture resistance and off-road ability of that light truck AT, okay, that's fine. But if you don't, and you're really just buying because of look, that makes that look very expensive. So have a think about that. Okay, let's look at another example. So If we've swapped our highway terrain passenger construction, we've gone to an aggressive all-terrain, which are more often than not a 3-ply tyre. We're going to be looking at a difference of at least 2 litres per K, okay? Sometimes more, okay? Considerably heavier tyre, okay? We've picked on the same sort of tyre life, same diesel cost, but we've basically doubled um, the extra litres used for the life of those tyres. So that's ended up an extra fuel cost over the life of those tyres of nearly $2,700. Okay, a lot of money, expensive set of tyres. Again, if you need that aggressive AT, you've got to be okay to pay for it. And it's not just the initial cost, which will be more expensive than your highway tyre or the other AT styles, but also the fuel cost, which is significant. So again, have a think about what you need and what you want before you purchase. Okay. All right. Let's finish up. Do you need all-terrain tyres? Let's simplify it. On-road occasional sand roofs, you don't really need them. Okay. Um, where you're doing occasional off-road use, so your weekend off-roader, and you do need off-road, better off-road traction than the OE style passenger tyre, or you're a outback tourer, the answer is yes, you probably do. Now, if you choose to try and use the highway original equipment style tyre, as a general rule, you will probably kill a few tyres. So that cost will add up quick, okay? And also, you're changing tyres by the side of the road. Do you want to do that? Or in the bush? Probably not. Okay, so that if you're doing occasional off-road, um, yeah, and you need those extra features of traction and puncture resistance, yeah, think about an all-terrain tyre. But again, think more specifically about the one you need to, which we just spoke about. Outback Tourers regional users, generally, yeah, they need an AT tyre. Really, the puncture resistance, Outback Tourers definitely need probably a little bit more off-road traction, the original equipment tyre as well. Now, regional users, a lot of people forget about them. A lot of these people use dirt roads in poor condition or a lot, okay, as their daily use. So to prevent having dead tyres, a lot of dead tyres, they need a good puncture resistant tyre, and an AT light truck is usually one to do the job. Okay, now going back to the start, you like the look, you want that all-terrain look, but you're not doing any off-road or really very little. You might want to consider the mild all-terrain tyre, okay? So the difference in performance comparing them to your highway style OE tyre, it's only small, okay? And you're going to get that look. Probably only a very small increase in fuel consumption. So that's something you might want to consider. Or even if you are okay with a small increase in fuel consumption, a little bit more noise, and you are going to give away some on-road performance, you might want to consider what we call the normal all-terrain in passenger construction. Okay, we are compromising on-road performance a little and fuel consumption, but it's a small jump, okay, rather than a large one. So you're probably looking at in fuel roughly half a litre, 100 Ks rather than one. So it's something you might be okay with living with. So yeah, have a think about that. All right, look, thanks very much for your time. I hope you've learned something. Look, please put questions in comments. If you've got any ideas for more content, whack them down in comments, send me a message. Look, brilliant. It's really good to get this first lot of content over. I'm pretty happy with it. Brilliant. Thank you.